Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And once again, I have another worthy contribution to Jack's Comic Gems. Now it's an unavoidable fact that the world of comics is constantly changing. Finding gems amidst so much content can be difficult, and I sincerely hope my efforts can make that process easier for aspiring comic fans. And for this particular gem, what makes it special is unique, but not for the usual reasons. You see, when I pick a comic gem to make a video about, it's usually a graphic novel compilation, which is a single story arc consisting of multiple issues. Now, most of that is due to logistics. Highlighting just a single issue of that arc usually only gives us a small part of a much larger story. But every once in a while, a single issue comes out, one that's not meant to be a complete story, but somehow still manages to stand out, even when it's just part of a larger ongoing narrative. Sometimes these single issues mark a pivotal turn within an arc, or they have a particular revelation that has implications that go far beyond that single story. And Power Rangers number 20 by Kyle Higgins and Daniel D. Niculo manages to provide plenty of both. It's one of those single issue comics that you don't expect to be so impactful. It really wasn't hyped up or heavily marketed. It was just another part of an ongoing story that had been unfolding in Boom Studios' Power Rangers comics, a story that has taken many turns since starting out in 2016. But even with everything that's happened in the comics since then, the importance of Power Rangers number 20 has only grown since it came out. That's because this single issue covers the story of Grace Sterling and the tragedy of Zordon's first team of Power Rangers. While we didn't realize it at the time, this ended up being one of the most important side stories in the history of modern Power Rangers comics. But who is Grace Sterling, you might ask? And why is she so important to the Power Rangers? Well, if you're a fan of the old TV show, and only ever know the Power Rangers through that medium, then her name won't ring a bell. She's never actually appeared in any episode, and she's never even mentioned. She is a character created specifically for this series of comics, but she ends up being a very important character. That's because Grace Sterling, in this world, was the first Red Ranger. And she was the first human to lead a team of Power Rangers into battle. That's right, before Jason Lee Scott, before Tommy Oliver. Grace Sterling was one of several teenagers with attitude who fought the forces of evil as a Power Ranger. Now, this was a jarring revelation to Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Zach, Billy, and Tommy. They too were just as shocked to learn that there had been another human Power Rangers team before them. Zordon never mentioned them. However, he had a good, albeit tragic, reason for doing so. You see, in the events leading up to this issue, we actually meet Grace Sterling. And she's very much a mystery. She seems to have a special interest in the Power Rangers, but it's not clear whether that interest was good, bad, or some combination of both. And this issue finally gives us the harrowing but grim details. And those details make for a surprisingly compelling story. We see them play out in an extended flashback that covers most of the issue. It takes place back in July 1969, the date of the Apollo 11 moon landing. It was a historic moment for all mankind. But for Grace Sterling, it was a somewhat hollow achievement. She's just a teenage girl at the time. And she's just looking up at the moon, unable to get excited about all this. She knows it's a huge achievement, but she also feels like she'll never be a part of it. She dreams of going into space, seeing what the Apollo 11 astronauts are seeing at that very moment. But she worries it'll never come to pass, not for a girl like her. Then, like many other Power Rangers before her, she's whisked away by Zordon and Alpha 5 to the command center. There, she joins 4 other teenagers with attitude, each taken from a different part of the world, including Great Britain and the Soviet Union. And they're all tasked with an urgent mission. The Green Psycho Ranger has landed on the moon, and he's looking to free Rita Repulsa from her dumpster prison. Longtime Power Rangers fan will likely recognize the Psycho Rangers. they are not your typical run-of-the-mill monster. They do not just explode after a few blows from the Power Sword. They are among the most tenacious villains the Power Rangers have ever faced. And this is who Grace Sterling has to go up against on her first mission. In terms of trial by fire, you can't get much hotter than this. But, despite being only a secretary with dreams of going into space, Grace Sterling embraces that challenge. More so than her 4 other teammates. And speaking of those teammates, they do not get along initially. Unlike the original Power Rangers of the 90s, these teenagers are all strangers to one another. They all come from different backgrounds and cultures. But they must somehow work together in order to stop the Green Psycho Ranger. This leads to quite a few clashes and disagreements. The classic teamwork dynamic that is so integral to every generation of Power Rangers is sorely lacking here. And that does prove detrimental once they encounter Psycho Green. And ultimately, those shortcomings lead to tragedy. But not before Grace shows herself to have the strength, grit, and heart of a leader. When they arrive on the moon to stop Psycho Green, she's the only one truly taken by the moment, realizing that she's in space, on the moon, and living out this dream she once thought to be impossible. It's an emotional, dramatic moment. And for a character who came off as so cold and stern when she debuted, it carries a lot of weight. And the way the battle plays out against Psycho Green only adds to this. In terms of typical Power Rangers battles, this one is a lot messier than most. Some members of this ragtag team do rise to the occasion. They even manage to come together in the end to thwart Rita's early release. But not without paying a price. And it's a high price at that. I won't spoil all the details, but it does help explain why Zordon chose not to share this story with the rest of the Rangers. It also explains, in retrospect, why his next crop of Rangers were already friends. But beyond these shocking revelations about the past, Power Rangers number 20 effectively makes Grace Sterling one of the most interesting characters in this series. Now, her interest in the Power Rangers is suddenly a lot more personal. She once wielded this power herself. She knows what it's like and what it can do. She also knows what kind of forces the Rangers are up against. But, and probably most importantly, Power Rangers number 20 reveals why she does not trust Zordon to manage this power. It puts Grace in a tenuous position. She can never be a true ally, given what happened to her and her fellow Rangers on their first mission. But she's just as committed as Zordon to stopping the monsters that keep invading her planet. Both she and Zordon want the same thing, but they have very different ideas on how to go about it. Zordon is a true idealist, but Grace is a hardened pragmatist. And their divide has only widened as the Power Ranger story has evolved. But that divide started in this single issue. It may still only be a small part of a larger arc. But, long after that arc concluded, Power Rangers number 20's impact remains incredibly relevant. It is the anchor of Grace Sterling's story, as well as a tragic secret that Zordon kept from his beloved Rangers. It's rare that a single issue can carry so much weight, and its story has only gotten more important with time. And that's certainly the mark of a true comic book gem. And for die-hard Power Rangers fans, Power Rangers number 20 remains one of Boom Studios' best achievements to date. If you're just getting into Power Rangers comics, this issue is a must-read, both for the quality of the story and the bigger picture it helps craft. As always, I've left an Amazon link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more of Jack's Comic Gems. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and may the power protect you.